Okay, the next theory of personality we're going to talk about is the humanistic theory of personality. And this theory came about in the 1960s, mainly by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. And these psychologists became really kind of annoyed with Freud's negativity and the idea that behaviorists, that our psychology, our personality is based all on internal and external things. And so what humanistic psychologists came up with was the idea that individuals control our own behavior. We're the ones who decide what we're going to do in our lives. And human nature is much more positive. We all are innately good. This was really popular in the 1960s because it was really person centered. Think about the culture during the 1960s, though. I mean, this is what people lived for, right? It's like the hippie era, love and everyone's good and I can control my own destiny. That's the humanistic theory, okay? So let's talk about Maslow first. We've talked about this hierarchy of needs already when we talked about motivation. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this again. But the idea is that we have to move from the very bottom of this triangle up to the top until we get to self-actualization. The basic bottom of the triangle are our basic life needs like air, food, drink, shelter, warmth. All of these are our basic needs. The next is our safety, our protection, our security, limits, stability, laws. Next is our love and belonging, our family, affection, relationships, work, group, etc. Esteem, which is our achievement status, our responsibility, and our reputation. And then finally, self-actualization is our personal growth and fulfillment. The idea is that we cannot focus on these top things in our life until we resolve and we fulfill these very basic needs at the very bottom. Okay, think about a child in like second grade. They can't focus on making friendships or um, you know growing themselves as a person until they can really see the board, right? If they cannot see the board because their family can't afford to get them glasses, that's a basic need that the child is missing. And so they can't focus on safety or friendships or becoming responsible for their own self because they're lacking a basic need. Someone who's living in poverty, maybe they're living in a really crappy part of town and they can't focus on finding a relationship or someone to spend time with because they're so focused on maintaining that shelter that they have, um, a roof over their head, right? That's Maslow's idea, is that we need to get all of these basic needs met first before we can move up towards self-actualization. And let's talk about self-actualization. Ultimately, what Maslow said is that we try and reach this idea of our unique full potential. He believed that we all have this desire, but not everyone has the ability to reach their full potential because of their environment. So we all have this want to reach self-actualization. However, we might not be able to get there because of the environment that we are in. Some of the characteristics of a self-actualizing person is they're accepting of themselves unconditionally, they are spontaneous, they are democratic, they like to be private, they're focusing on problems that are greater than themselves, they have a strong ethical and moral sense, very close, however limited number of friends, and then realistic. So these are the characteristics of someone that would be self-actualized. Okay, let's talk about the next psychologist. That would be Carl Rogers. Rogers also believed that people wanted to grow themselves, and that people are naturally good, except he did it in a little bit different of a way. He came up with this one central feature of our personality, and that was our self-concept. And our self-concept is our perception of our abilities, behaviors, and characteristics. The idea is that if we have a positive self-concept, then we tend to act in a positive way, right? So we have a positive perception of our abilities. And in order for a person to grow, Rogers believed that we needed to have some basic things. The first is genuineness. Basically, we need to accept our feelings. We need to be open about them and drop the facades that we put up. So if you're feeling really down about yourself, you need to drop the idea that you're happy all the time and be genuine and open about your feelings. And if you're not going to grow past that. The next is acceptance. We need to get rid of any conditions of worth, meaning that in order for you to accept yourself, you need to get rid of any conditions. Like, okay, well, I'll be happy with myself if I lose 10 pounds or if I can make this team. We also must either have or offer unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard, think of it as unconditional love. You need to have someone who is going to constantly be there for you and offer you support no matter what. A lot of times we find this in parents, but not always. It could be a friend or a teacher that's going to offer support and help you move towards this level of acceptance. And then finally, we need to have empathy in order to grow. And we need to be able to share and mirror our feelings and reflect on other people, or reflect on the meanings, and really feel what someone else is feeling in order to fully grow into our best self. So, how we assess the self, according to Rogers, was that he would have someone describe themselves as they would like to be, their ideal self. If you could be anything in the whole world, like the perfect version of yourself, what would it be? And then he had them describe who they actually are. And if the two descriptions matched up, then that person had a positive self-concept. If the descriptions were really far apart, then they have a negative self-concept. So all of our thoughts and feelings about ourselves, basically, who are you? That's what he was looking for. Okay, so let's evaluate this perspective. Humanistic psychology is huge in parenting and education and management, counseling. We use a lot of these concepts every single day. However, these concepts are vague and they're really subjective and they're not really scientifically proven, right? Like we can't really find a test that we can objectively look at someone's self-concept. And then the other evaluation of this is that individualism can lead to self-indulgence or selfishness. Someone's too corrupt. We're not really going to be able to focus on other people or the problems in the world when we're too focused on ourselves.